So, welcome to your first ever Joinery Hour, and thank you very much. I'm excited about this one. It's been bubbling away in the background, the whole relationship, for a long time, and we finally launched at the Fit Show, and now we get a chance to delve a little bit deeper into what we're doing together. So if we can just kick off for everybody and just quickly go around the virtual stage and tell everybody who each one of you are and roughly what you do within the organisation, please.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Luke. And thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here, and we've been looking forward to it as well. It's obviously a good opportunity for us to talk about all the things we've been talking about. So my name's Ben Wallace. I'm the managing director of the GGF, and I've been in the GGF, well, be scarily coming up to 14 years in December. Originally was technical. I've had 6 roles within the GGF, looking after consultancy and a senior technical officer. I became the group head of membership for our wider group, which I can cover off what exactly we do in a minute after everyone's introduced themselves, and became the managing director in the beginning of the summer last year. Originally ex-forces, but got into the manufacturing of UPVC windows and doors before joining the Federation. And then my specialities were all primarily around glass, but obviously there's a big technical representation across the industry. So I've got to learn all about frames as well, and look forward to learning a lot more about the timber side of things as well.
Excellent.
Ladies first, Lauren.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Lauren Morford, and I'm the head of commercial and operations at the GGF. I originally joined the GGF about 3 years ago, and I was the group health, safety and environment manager. My background is in construction, and it's operational background in health and safety. So when I first joined the industry, I didn't know anything about the GGF, if I'm quite honest, and what we do. But over the last 3 years, obviously I've learned quite a bit, and I've worked in different areas to learn, and I took the role of head of operations July last year, and then just recently we've added the commercial side of it onto that. So I look after the membership department, training and consultancy.
Awesome. Kevin?
Well, hello, everyone. Very pleased to be here. Looking forward to the rest of this meeting. It's already been a really interesting conversation. I am an absolute glass and glazing geek, and I'm very proud of it. Love the British standards and building regulations, dare I say it. And so I take the lead for the GGF and the members on that front. Awful lot of work with government in terms of consultation and advisory roles across government as well. But my background, I've been in the industry right from school at 16, went into MVQ carpentry and joinery at Worcester Technical College, and then lots of fabrication across PVC, aluminium and installation. And I've been with the GGF now for 5 years.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ben, for those who may not be completely familiar, and I'll be honest, I wasn't until we started talking probably 18 months ago plus, I would guess, of exactly what the GGF done. So can you just explain, give us a high-level overview of what the GGF is all about and your mission of the Federation, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the Glass and Glazing Federation, we are a group of companies, which the GGF is the parent company. We started officially in 1977, but it's got a bit of a history before that as well. But effectively, it was set up by members for members operating in the glass and glazing industry. And it was really to get that expertise and unified voice for the sector coming from one organization when it came to anything for regulatory changes and compliance, and obviously shaping the industry and going in the direction that suits the industry. So in 1977, that's when the GGF was formed. I'm happy to say we still have founding members in the membership today, which is fantastic. And some of them are still very active on the board and things like that. As time progressed, we implemented a subsidiary called BFRC, which was all about the British Fenestration Rating Council, and that was all of the energy performance calculations and the kind of traffic lights or a system that you would have seen on products around energy performance. Over time, that's evolved, and most recently, we've used BFRC's name to create our own test laboratory. So we have a test laboratory in Telford, and we'll be doing all things for CE marking and UKCA marking compliance. And we've got a 17025 accreditation, so we are a UCAS notified body and UK approved body for testing, and we are extending our scope of testing offerings constantly. So that was BFRC. We have FENSA, which I hope most of you have heard of. FENSA is a competent person scheme, and there was a requirement for a competent person scheme within the industry. So that was written in 2002 by the GGF. And obviously we run that today. And across FENSA, we have currently around 5,500, circa 6,000 members. Then we had a company called Borough IT, which had a lot of external IT contracts for the industry. And that was an IT company side of things. Then in 2005, we implemented a company called InstallSure, which is the insurance side for the industry and primarily offering insurance-backed guarantees. And most recently, we are going through changes and we're expanding offerings for various insurances across the sector as well. And in the most recent subsidiary, when it being 2016, with RISA, and RISA undertake all of the inspections for FENSA members and for the FENSA scheme itself. Yeah, that's our kind of group. And yeah, I mean, primarily, like I said, we're set up to have that unified voice. And it's all around voice with government. It's about making sure that we are working with the expertise from the industry and really helping government shape which direction the industry goes. So that's just in a nutshell what the GGF group is. And hopefully you are aware of what that is.
Yeah, superb. Again, for me, I'd heard of the companies individually, didn't realise that they were part of the bigger picture of the GGF. So again, I'm sure most people will find that quite interesting. So just very quickly, talk to us about how the relationship with the Joinery Network come about and what is the shared vision for our collaboration, Ben?
Yeah, so for me, we have 475 GGF members, and we have a really good representation of the industry. The industry turns over, the numbers we kind of talk about, around 4 billion, and across the membership, we represent just under 3 billion of that. So we have really good representation, but we have gaps in expertise, and one of those gaps was timber. So when we got to know each other and starting having these conversations, we thought, well, it's always been on my radar to make sure we represent the whole sector, and I don't want any gaps. And the timber side didn't have a voice through the GGF. And there may be other external avenues where there was a voice, but it didn't have the impact out in the industry it should do. The amount of consultations, regulatory changes coming through, our members get that platform to have their voice heard, and they get to work with the GGF through our technical meetings and get their opinions across and can get changes coming through the pipeline that is beneficial for them. The fact we didn't have any timber representation meant there was that big gap. So for us, we wanted to launch a timber group, but there's no point in the GGF just launching the timber group when the expertise comes from the members, and we didn't have any members in really who are the experts in the timber arena. So when we had our initial discussions and we got to learn about your specifications and the way that the Joinery Network operates, we were really excited to try and progress this relationship. And obviously, as you're aware, Luke, we talked about launching a timber group in collaboration and hoping to get some Joinery Network members at the GGF Timber Group with in partnership with Joinery Network, and plug that gap where we don't have the representation. So we see a really fruitful partnership moving forward with GGF Joinery Network documents, making sure that you're getting a voice into the consultations that Kevin and his team work on, and being part of the GGF and networking and expanding and growing your license holders and network, growing their representation out there in the industry as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And for us, obviously, as a Joinery Network, we recognise when we started talking to you, we recognise that gap. We recognise that, I hear it a lot, that the small to medium joiners, which are the grassroots of the industry or the timber industry, haven't really got a voice. So it's massively important that we create that voice rather than letting, excuse me, the bigger organisations making the decisions that are going to effectively come down the ladder and affect these guys without them having any say. So it's a perfect fit for us, and something that I've been talking to Andy a lot about over the years, that we need to get closer to government. We need to get a voice, and yeah, for us, fantastic. Kevin, obviously GGF is heavily involved in shaping building regs. Just talk us through very briefly what some of the stuff you're involved with, currently focused on, how it may affect particularly the timber window and door manufacturer, obviously, because that's our audience today.
Yeah, sure. So you may have heard of it, but the Future Home Standard is probably the single biggest building regulation change and consultation that we've had for a long time, actually, in the industry, and it affects all materials equally. If anything, I would say the impact on the timber sector is probably going to be more felt, because some of the changes that are being consulted on at the moment are around the way U values are calculated. And at the moment, we calculate that standard size and style window, or you're able to, and then that covers the whole range of your product. So that, you know, ultimately, if you're making a similar type of product with a similar glass makeup, you can do one U value calculation and repeat that across several projects over several years. But the bespoke nature of timber, along with the proposal that you can't use that standardized size and style anymore, every single window will need a calculation. So every size and style of window that you put in, this is for new build, bear in mind, but it will roll out into domestic replacement as it travels. But new build, for the time being, anything you put in will need its own calculation, because you will have to provide an area weighted average across the build, which you can only arrive at if you calculate each individual window first. Now, for other materials, that's a challenge, but not insurmountable, because they are very much dedicated systems. The outer frame is always the outer frame, the sash is always the sash, etc., etc. And so they're able to build a calculator relatively simply that can calculate everything that they do. Whereas in the more bespoke market that you guys are in, if you're not having that system approach, then potentially you're going to have to invest in a U value calculation for every product. Now, some of these U value calculations per product, you know, they can range anywhere from £500 up to £1,000 per product. And, you know, average house is 10 windows and 1.8 doors or something silly like that. You know, that's thousands of pounds on U value calculations before you even got to the job itself. And ideally, you need to know that calculation before, you know, estimating stage, because unless you know what the values you are, you won't necessarily know what glass you're going to need to put in. Because what we're finding is actual calculations are a lot harsher than simulations. So where you might simulate something in the past and think, right, I can use, I don't know, a 24 mil double glazed unit to get my 1.4 U value. When you actually calculate in the size and style of the actual products, it might turn out you need to go to triple glazing to get that same 1.4 U value because of the size differences and the ratio of glass to frame. So it's a huge challenge where there are bespoke products and a potential huge cost. So part of what we do is we meet with government very early on in the process. Normally before the consultation comes out, they will give us an early view of something, and then we're able to feedback from our members into that to hopefully inform something that will come out that is workable. Now, government will always have their remit, and they will always ultimately do what they need to do to achieve it. But we have had some great success in influencing how they go about achieving it, but also in the transition timelines as well. Government were a few years ago looking at a 6-month transition for all their building regs going forward. So basically, from the date it's published, you've got 6 months to comply. Well, that simply isn't workable for many, many reasons. And so we've managed to push back, and actually we've managed to agree a 2-year transition for the Future Home Standard.
Wow. The
expectation is it will be published in autumn, early winter this year, with a final completion date of lead-in and transition in autumn 2027. So that gives people a chance to get calculators in place, figure out their approach. And obviously we're working very closely with a lot of system houses at the moment, both aluminium and PVC. And obviously we'll look forward to working with you guys as well as to how that might look in terms of your software that you might have available, or the range of products that you've got available, because we do have access to BFRC and carry out these calculations for us. So we've got a whole view of it all. So that's a huge piece that we've been working on for 3 or 4 years now, and will be for the next year or two at least. And also another big one coming down the line, which will directly affect timber, is approved document Q. So that's security in dwellings. At the moment, it only applies to new builds. There is a consultation due to come out for that at some point in the future, and we think it's probably going to be early next year. But what that does is that increases the scope of Part Q to all replacement windows and doors as well. So that would be a past 24 product or equivalent to all the products that you manufacture. But also they're looking to increase the scope of the laminate glass, where at the moment it's only in doors and anything connected to a door. The proposal is that laminate glass will be required to all of the ground floor windows and doors, regardless of whether it's a door or attached to a door. So that's a huge shift. That's a 6.8 mil lem as well, not 6.4, because that doesn't comply. Past 24 to every product you do, also with laminate glass to all the ground floor, is a big change to where we are at the moment. And with working with the competent person schemes to see how they would sign off on Part Q, and that's a challenge, because you can either have third-party certification or a test report. Now, the problem with the test report approach is, as soon as you make any slight change, so if you've got a test report that has a handle with part number 123, and you switch to a part number 345, that whole test report is invalid. And at that point, that's very late in the day to find out you've now got to make another product, send it away to get tested, hope it passes, get it added to a scope. Homeowner could be waiting 6 months or more by that point, and it's a huge cost to whoever's doing it because it's more product, more testing, etc. So we're working very closely with our members and the competent person schemes to hopefully give this as smooth a transition as we can. Now, government have agreed to allow trade federations to see an early copy of Part Q, and we've got a meeting in July to have an initial read through. So we've got the opportunity to comment before it goes to consultation. So if there are any things in there that we look at and say, you know what, that simply isn't workable, and these are the reasons why, then we've got that opportunity, and then we'll feed that back through the members, which will then feed back to us. And so, yeah, but we're very keen that we get members involved in those meetings with government, because the power of the GGF is the membership. As much as the technical officers will push and lead and we're dogged sometimes with government in getting these meetings arranged, it's the members that sit in those meetings that have a real world view on things and that real practical lived experience that we perhaps don't have or haven't had for a long time. And so that's really where the value is. It comes from the voice of the members, because you guys are putting money into the exchequer, not us. So you've got that power behind you to say, this isn't going to work. This is going to cost jobs. This isn't going to allow us to grow, all of that kind of stuff. And that feeds back in really nicely into the agenda of influencing, which is what we're all about, influencing the right outcome for the members in the industry.
Amazing. Well, you've done a few things in that. You've answered my next question, so you've knocked me right off track. But but also you've also very much inadvertently sold some of the benefits of being involved with the Joinery Network and the ligament system, because it is a system. We are a system house, and obviously you've jumped on the Part Q thing, which I haven't.
I'll take that. I'll take that 10 and later, Luke.
Yeah. So let's jump to the technical committees that GGF currently sit on. Just give us a quick overview of the sort of thing, the technical committees that you're currently sitting on, and what we get involved with.
So the GGF, and for going forward, as I'm talking about the GGF, I'm very much talking about technical staff and the members. We are the GGF in effect. So when I'm saying GGF, it's both members and staff. So the GGF are heavily involved in the standards community, writing and updating standards. In fact, we are the driving force for B520, the committee is called, which is the panel that looks at all the British and European standards to do with glass in buildings. So your 356, which is the laminate glass requirement, the security glass requirement, the 1279, which is the specification requirement, all of those standards are written and revised within the 5 committees. And within that 520 committee, you have, I think there's 12 or 13 subcommittees that all look at very specific areas. So you've got security glass, film on glass, coatings on glass, so all their own subgroups. And we have members that sit on all of those groups. And then we've got staff that sit on probably half of them. So we're really well represented. And the benefit that gives us is we probably find out maybe 12 months before you would otherwise that a standard is up for revision. And you get the chance to vote on that standard. So if there's a standard particularly that you feel strongly that needs revising because at the moment it's not fit for purpose, and that might be build types have changed, the products you supply have changed, you've got access to different and new hardware, like electronic hardware maybe, and you feel that the standard is not doing what it should be doing anymore, through the GGF, you can say this standard we feel needs updating. We can give you a template to fill out with the feedback as to why. We can submit that and get it on the list to be updated. And then taking that one step further, we are always looking for new members to get involved in all of these panels. So if one of you guys was to say to me, Kev, I really would like to get involved in the updating of standard, whatever it is, then we can nominate you, put you onto those standards. Now, they've changed slightly how the standards work, the committees. So you need, it's almost like a job interview. You have you put a professional CV and a cover letter and you need a sponsor. Well, the GGF is able to sponsor you for that. So we can say, yes, you can do, we're happy for this person to sit on the panel, etc. And then once you're in, that's it. You can join any of the panels that you like very easily. And the next stage of that is you are able to sit on the European standards committees, so the SEM committees, and even the ISO committees, which are the international standards organization. So from that BSI involvement, you can be as involved as you would like to be, as you've got time to do. And we've got some members that who are able to almost, they're habitual BSI meeting attendants. You know, that's almost their role for their business now. Certainly for some of the much larger organizations where a change in standard could be catastrophic to them if it doesn't suit what they're doing. So they're able to get involved and find out. And then we've also got the B538 committee, which is windows and doors specifically. It covers all materials. So work items that we're on at the moment is the 8214, which is fire door assemblies. So that used to be timber fire door assemblies. So the revision that's almost complete for that now is it's no longer material specific. It now covers fire doors of all materials. It covers some of the recent changes that we've seen in approved document B for fire safety in terms of European and British standards testing methods. And that's finished public consultation. There's over 400 comments that we got in from the standards community, which is a lot for a standard, an awful lot. So, you know, normally 20 to 50 would be normal. So over 400 for this. And so they're into, I think, their 15th meeting of going through the comment resolution. So like it's the longest comment resolution I've ever known. So obviously it's of interest to people. It's a big standard, but that should be coming soon. We've recently updated parts of 1279, which is the glass standard, and 7412, which is a PVC specification for Windows standard. Something that actually is moving up the list quite fast is BS644, which obviously is windows and door sets. So that, I think the current version of that, I think it's 2012. So it's one outside of the normal 5-year update cycle. So what you guys will have the opportunity to do as it becomes into the top 3 priority, at the moment I think it's 5, so it's close, then it will come out for a public vote. I will inform everybody that there's a public vote, and I'll be looking for you guys to say, do you think this standard needs, all right, we got 3 options. You pass it as it is and it just gets redated and there's no changes. You put it up for minor amendment. So if there's some wording that needs tweaking or something like that, we can do that. And that's a very quick process. Or you can opt for full revision, where the whole document will go into a working group where they will go through the whole thing and just update everything. And that's the point, that you can add things, take things out. As much change as is needed can happen. And obviously you guys, if someone wants to be, can be involved in that process.
Absolutely.
So it's a really powerful thing that goes under the radar for a lot of people, the work that goes into it, because we all like to moan about building regs and British standards and things like that. Well, now's the opportunity to stop moaning and start getting involved.
100%. You took the words right out of my mouth, Kevin. So, sorry guys, I want to give everyone a chance to talk to you guys off, so we're gonna have to speed up a little bit. I know there's loads of stuff and it's really exciting to talk about. But Lauren, let's jump into something else that the GGF are doing. The Glazing Journal, one of the most recognised publications in the industry, probably the most. Tell us a little bit about that, what role it plays, and how the Joinery Network can plug into that. What it means to us.
Okay, so the Glazing Journal, form of the Glazing Journal, has been around for years. It's just had a rebrand and a new name from the Glass Eye, which is probably what most people have heard of in the industry, or in the GGF community anyway. Within that, we have technical articles, we have member spotlight, we have case studies that we talk about, government updates, all sorts of things like that, really. There's no set agenda. It's whatever we think is relevant at the time, or if members want to get involved and they want to tell us about any sort of training success stories or technical articles that they want to talk about. But it's specifically for our industry, and the idea is to keep everybody informed and sort of engaged really on what's going on. So there's opportunities for any member at all to get involved and write something for that.
Awesome. And what is that publication? Is it every quarter?
It's quarterly, yes.
Quarterly.
Yeah,
Okay.
the next one's coming out actually next month, July. Yeah.
Brilliant. And from a membership point of view, give us some of the features, benefits of the GGF members enjoy outside of all the technical stuff, the voice. What are the other benefits that you guys offer your members?
Well, outside of the huge technical bit that Kev's been talking about, we have training. We have a new platform, a Nucleus platform that it came to light sort of end of last year, where there's lots of online training available. There's going to be some instructor-led training, and it's all specific to our industry. So what we like to do as well is create bespoke courses. So if there's courses for particularly the timber industry, if there's anything that you think would be really useful, we'd like to work with yourselves to create bespoke courses that are going to be valuable to yourselves. We also have, we're an IOSH training provider now, so we have an IOSH managing safety that's specific for the glass and glazing industry. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't look at more specific for different sectors of our industry as well. And that's something that we're really interested in doing, making sure that the training that we create and provide is of use to everybody and valuable, and not just a generic training platform. We have for member benefits, we have several partnerships. There's quite a few. I'll just pick out a couple. So we partner with, which most people have probably heard of, a company called Krona, which offer 24/7 health and safety advice, commercial legal advice, employment law advice, and that is all included within your membership. So you'll have a 24/7 helpline that you can ring at any time just to get any advice that that is of use to you. We have so many different things. We have a jobs board that's free for all of our members as well, which is really good because it targets people in the industry. So we know obviously recruitment free. So you can use our jobs board to advertise any jobs that you may have. We're also, with the training side of things, we're also going back a bit. We're looking into in the future to be able to provide actual apprenticeships as well. So there's lots going on with that. We have the consultancy side. We've got so many different things. And of course, BFRC that has already been spoken about, and there's discounts for GGF members. So there's lots of things, and we're always looking at new benefits that are relevant to our members. So we welcome any suggestions as well, and we will always look to find benefits that are of benefit and value to yourselves.
Brilliant. And that was, again, you've answered a few of my questions all in one go, so well done you. One of the draws was that I remember you saying when we met prior, that basically if the members are proactive, if the members just join and sit back and do nothing, well, clearly they're not going to get the full benefit, and that's the same with anything in life. But you said pretty much if they actually are proactive and get involved, the membership is way paid for by all the benefits that they can accrue over that year of membership. So
yeah, absolutely.
Plus the voice, plus being part of a movement to change the industry. So yeah, it's really exciting. One of the biggest challenges that my guys in timber have at the moment is with English heritage around through bars, and Kev, we've spoke about this briefly. Just very quickly, how could we go about, because that's going to be at the top of our agenda on our first technical meeting, what would be the process look like? Just a 4-step process very quickly.
Yeah, so I've actually already started the ball rolling on this. So we have a guy that works for the GGF called Chris Vidal. His title, I think he made this up himself. It's he's head of government activity in stakeholder relations. So a very fancy title. But basically, his job is to be absolutely relentless, banging on doors at government and local authorities to get the in for the technical team to then go through the issues that we've got. And so we've had huge success with Chris. He really is a good guy and really good at what he does. That it's largely down to him that we're able to speak to the Home Office pretty much when we want to. MHCLG answer our call pretty reliably, and we've got meetings scheduled throughout the year with them. The Environment Agency and DEFRA, and BAYS as well. All have contacts that know Chris and will answer a call to him because they know. I like to think that we've built up a bit of a reputation over the last year or two that we are a voice of the industry, and we're not biased in any way, and we're reliable and we're valuable to government. So it's that reputation that allows us to tackle topics just like this, because there will be somebody in a department somewhere that's involved in this that is going to know of the work that GGF does. And so what we're trying to do at the moment is identify the authors of these reports, but more specifically, which working group it sits in. As soon as we get that information, which that is freely available, and so we will get it. It's just, it might take a bit of time, a week or two, the replies and things. But as soon as we've got that, we'll set up a meeting with them. Normally for the first meeting, we will go and see them. We will lay out the case as we see it, based on feedback from you guys. And at that point, we would look to set up a working group to start working on an amendment. Now, they are always looking to update documents if industry feels there's a need for it, because I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but they are not in the business of trying to prevent work or make it harder. A lot of these documents are written because somebody who wrote them genuinely thinks it's the right thing to do. without necessarily the experience of the industry and what it actually is going to mean, but also sometimes the consequences. I think impact assessments for things like this are a very recent thing. So when many of these documents were originally written, they were written in isolation, laser focused on an issue that may or may not have been there, with no real thought to the impact that has elsewhere. And I think that's exactly where this sits. It was, this is what we need to do for this reason, and there's no thought given to all of the issues that it causes behind it, like the increase in cost and the lack of availability of materials, but also the narrowing of choice, which is something that government consider much more now than they ever have in the past. They want the consumer to have that choice.
And the overall performance.
Yes, exactly.
Is
And
huge.
so I think that's where we are at the moment. So we've reached out. We're trying to find out the working group. Then we will nominate someone to sit on that working group to have direct input into updating it. And at that point, we will bring members into that working group where we can go through and lay it all out. Now, I can't sit here and promise you we'll get this changed exactly how you want it, but I'd like to think I can pretty reliably say we'll at least get a conversation with them about it. And then it's down to us to put that technical argument forward.
Absolutely. And that's a huge, that in itself is worth our guys getting involved, because it is a huge thing that if we got any sort of change going in the right direction for performance and what we're doing, it would just be groundbreaking for us. So, right.
And sometimes, sorry, I should say just quickly, sometimes these things are a long process.
Oh, absolutely.
You start the conversation. Now, we might get a small concession and a step change first, and then a bit more next time, and eventually you end up where you want it to be. So, it can be frustrating sometimes, but positive progress is what we need, and I think we will get it.
Excellent. And so, Lauren, what's it going to cost us?
So we have a new sort of subscription tier specifically for yourselves, and it's the most competitive fee, actually membership fee we've got as well. So it's £960 for the year, but we're offering 20% off your first full year. But we'll also, as the time of year now we're sort of halfway through, we would also offer 20% and pro rata obviously the fee between now and the end of the year as well. There's so much more that we can talk about, but I appreciate the technical side of things is what everyone is probably here to listen to for this morning. But there's so much more on the membership side, but if anyone is interested, if I could have their details, I'll have information sent out to them so they can actually see exactly what we offer, because this is a real snapshot of what I've just spoken about in about 3 minutes, but there's obviously a lot more. So.
Yeah, amazing. So when we go back to the floor, Lauren, if you put your email address in the chat, but like the general chat, everybody will be able to just copy and paste that, and hopefully you'll be inundated, and that will be your Friday sorted. So before we wrap up with a couple of closing questions with Ben, just to quickly explain, we are looking at our first technical group within the GGF, our first technical meeting, sometime in September. Kev's going to put a poll out to everybody interested to get a perfect, or the most perfect date we can get. I am going to be acting chair just for the point of before we appoint a proper chair and a vice chair, etc., and form that group structure. Yeah, very exciting time. So to wrap it up, Ben, what is the one thing you think manufacturers in our network, in our network might not realise about the GGF, but really ought to realise about the GGF?
I suppose from my point of view, it's not necessarily what we need to know about the GGF, it's what we need to know about the industry. The landscape of the industry is changing. We've had many years of frustration with members spending an awful lot of time and money and good practice. It costs a lot of time and money to do things right, and the kind of unregulated side of the industry almost flying under the radar, and no one really doing anything about it. And trading standards are obviously far too busy to be focusing on the glass and glazing industry when they're looking at all sorts of fake vodkas and cigarettes and stuff like that out there. Those days are gone. The industry is in the spotlight. We have the OPSS, which is the Office for Product Safety and Standards, which falls under the Department for Business and Trade. They're out there inspecting, doing spot checks on manufacturers. They're turning up with warrant and body cameras, and they're spending the day checking people's compliance for CE marking. It's not just about personnel competency, but it's about the products as well being placed on the market. People need to be aware that we're all going the right direction. And this is a huge win for us to be in this situation where the industry is being policed now. We've been working with so many companies to make sure that they are compliant, they're doing what they should be doing, and they're not getting any of these visits and walking away with non-compliances or non-conformities. So I think it's just really important for everyone to know the industry's changing. It is being looked at. And if you're doing things right, which we know your network is, then this is the time now to get in, raise the profile, and make sure that we have your expertise at the GGF table, because we need them. And I think just in addition to that, very briefly, the issue that you raised, Luke, and how important that is to your network is a prime example of why you can join the GGF. Historic England participates in the technical committees from SEN and the working groups for Working Group 7, which is indoor and outdoor climate control and historic buildings, and Working Group 8, which is the energy efficiency of historic buildings. They have a voice on there. Well, we can put someone on from your network who has an equal voice. So if you have issues that are important to you, we can really, really assist in what your goals are for moving forward for your sector. So I think that's probably, from me, a good close to demonstrate exactly what you should be joining us and we can do together as a timber group.
Yeah, fantastic. Really powerful and very exciting. So finally, where can people find you guys to learn more, connect, and clearly join?
Laura?
So I've put my email address in there now. We do have a website, a GGF website. You'll see us over at LinkedIn. If you follow us on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to see bits and bobs of what we're doing. We do a lot of networking events as well. Yeah, just give me a shout, and I will make sure that someone contacts you as soon as possible with all the information, and hopefully you'll be impressed and want to come and join.
That's amazing. Before we run out of time completely, all I can say is it's a good job we haven't got Owen Dare on here as well, because we'd never have got finished. But no, it's really interesting, guys. Thank you so much. We'll go back to the floor and for a bit of networking. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah.